What's going on, guys? It's your boy Player X here with the Semi-Limited Podcast. And we just want to take a brief second to say, hey, we're sorry for the week-long hiatus that we've been on. I've been dealing with a bunch of personal things, a little bit of moving around staff, and just dealing with a whole bunch of things that happen outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! In life that, we just needed to get figured out and shit. But we're back on to bigger and better things, and we're only looking ahead. So thanks to everyone for listening and showing love to the podcast. Appreciate that. We got a whole bunch of topics to kind of brush over a little bit today. We have another guest on for today as well. But before we get into that, you guys already know, please go to the Linktree link down in the description box below to follow all of our social sites. You can click that link. It'll bring up a tab with all of our listings of whether it be the podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on Google Podcasts. You can follow our YouTube, our Twitter, our Instagram. All of those things are all right down there. So go ahead, click on that link, get into those social sites, follow us, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll be having another giveaway when we hit 50 followers on X and Twitter. We're so fucking close on X, so get me to give you guys some free shit and go follow over there. And then when we have 100 followers on Instagram and YouTube, Instagram, I think we're at 92 or something like that, close to 100. So right underneath that mark. So be sure to tell all your friends to go there and hit the subscribe button and the follow button, so that way we can get to those goals and give back stuff to you guys. Another quick shout out to our sponsor, Unplugged Gaming in Manlius, New York, for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to join their Discord server in the description box below to be a part of their TCG communities. You can go down there, click the description, join their Discord, and join all of the TCGs they have available, such as One Piece, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lorcana, all that stuff. So you can go down there and be a part of the community and get into a new TCG. And if you happen to stop in the store, be sure to tell them that the boys over at Semi-Limited sent you, and they'll be sure to hook you up, all right? We also want to let you guys know that Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, is live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, or any other location. If you're trying to stream, just make sure you're going by your own time zone. His Twitch will be in our Linktree link, also in the description box down below, so you can go there, click on it. He likes to do things like deck profiles, deck theory, deck testing, and he is very, very interactive with the chat. So be sure to interact with him on there on Saturday nights, and anything that goes on over there, we'll be sure to mention in our Friday night wrap up. And our last announcement is pretty special for us. Semi-Limited will be sponsoring and hosting another case tournament at Unplugged Gaming. This will be an Age of Overlord case tournament, and it'll be happening Saturday, October 21st at Unplugged Gaming, still in Manlius. A case of the newest set will be split amongst the top cut for prizing, and you can best believe that anyone who goes in there and enters is going to get a whole bunch of OTS packs. They might do another pizza party like last time, so you never quite know. The entry should be about $25. If I'm not mistaken. I will double check on that and be sure to get it back out to you guys in writing. But just so you guys are aware, I will obviously be there taking pictures, hosting, running the event for you guys, just doing all the behind the scene things that you guys know and love from me. And we're going to try to make it a smooth event. So be sure to show up if you're willing to and able. And also, it'll be the first major tournament that has Age of Overlord live for the New York State area. Following that, we will have the Millennium Games 3v3 case tournament happening at Rochester, New York the week afterwards. So one more last announcement. We just wanted to give you guys more situated with what we got going on over here at the podcast. So we just wanted to announce our quick new upload schedule. Basically, this is how the whole usual week is going to happen. So the podcast will be dropping on Tuesdays and Fridays. We will have live streams on Saturdays with Brad, like we mentioned before, as well as short form content dropping on Wednesdays and Sundays. We will be having one through Brad as he goes and does things for the stream, and then we will have one through me. We will have segments such as local legends, question of the week, interviewing any players or interesting things that happened during the locals week. We will make sure to get those in for you. So be sure to watch out for the short form content that'll be dropping on our TikTok, our Instagram Reels, and our YouTube Shorts on Wednesdays and Sundays. So just a reminder, you guys, Tuesday we have a podcast drop. Wednesday we have a short form drop. Friday we have a podcast drop. Saturday we will have the stream. And then Sunday we will have our last short-term content drop. Just to get you guys a little bit more familiar with the new schedule that we're going to be working on here at the Semi-Limited Podcast. And now, before we get into things, I just want to introduce our special guest, which we love having him on here. He's from our brother sister podcast, Heart of the Podcast, over there in New York City. So a man who needs no introduction by any means. Be sure to give a big old welcome for our man, George.
Yo, yo, yo. It's me, your boy George. Number 99th at Hartford, but number one in your heart.
Yeah, that's right. That's top 100. That's pretty good. There was like
Yeah,
what 300, 400 people there.
yeah, it was about 400 people. 374? Yeah, 374 people total. Came 99th. Something with that number
There you
nine,
go.
bro. Like it's I bubbled out for in one of my OTS championship stores. Like I didn't make top 8. I made number
Yeah, I
9.
bubbled too. I think we both got ninth. Yeah, we both got ninth place.
Yeah, fucking hell, man. Fucking hell. One day
Yeah.
I'm gonna come in ninth. I'm gonna drop down 90 numbers and I'm just gonna come in ninth.
Well, hopefully it's out of like a top 32 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Where it
I'm
matters. If it's a top 8 and you're getting ninth, then who cares?
yeah, for real. Dead ass.
Before we start, did you want to give any shout outs or any plugins to anyone you know or anything that you guys want to bring a little attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to shout out, I guess, all the boys from part of the podcast, Mel, Z, Joseph, who we haven't really seen much of. He's been very busy, but he knows we still got love for him. We miss him. I also want to shout out Demetrius and my boy James, as well as Kevin.
Period.
Period. Period. Yeah, no, I got to shout them out too. You know, they're part of the play group. We're meeting up more often, which is real cool. Like we have a decent 6-person play group, and yeah, man, just want to shout them out. I also want to shout out my boy Jake.
Ooh, Jake Curtis. Okay, yeah.
Jakey. I'm still
Squeaky's
waiting on my
voice.
packs, Jake. I'm still waiting on them.
Still waiting
Oh,
on
yeah.
them, Jake.
Yeah, man. No, but it's always a pleasure to be on here with you, bro.
Absolutely, and we love having you on, man. We were cut short last time, so I figured I'd invite you back on to make sure we can get everything that we wanted to say out, because I think we were cut short a little bit as far as timing, but now we got you, so we're ready to go.
Hell yeah.
So getting into it, the first thing we wanted to talk about was a couple weeks ago we had YCS Dortmund. That was on the European circuit. I was dealing with some things personally that week, so we didn't have the time to cover it, but now we have plenty of time to go over it. So although it's a little bit late, it's definitely better late than never.
Absolutely.
So we had a surprising turnout there. I think they had just about 3,000 players turn out for over there, and it was really cool to see the new format unfold like live in person. We want to give a quick congratulations to Julius. He won the event, and he was piloting Rika's son Avalon, and he did it straight to the top, baby. First place, winning the YCS over in Dortmund. And we also had a very interesting pool of decks for this event, including one that I'm not so happy about, which was the return of the tier elements, as you can see.
Yeah,
Did
man.
Did you see any of that stuff with the YCS, or did you catch any
Yeah.
of it?
Absolutely. I felt like every other table I walked through, every other game I was walking through, they were playing tier elements. It's back, man. It's back in full effect. It's if somebody's telling you it's not back or it's a dead deck, hell no. I have no idea what they're talking about. That deck is back. And it's I forgot how annoying it was to play against. You know, it's once it's going, it's fucking going, bro. And
Yeah, it's gas for sure.
yeah, it's all fucking gas, man. It's like, you know, you really stop and think like how strong a Rise Heart was of a card, because once that card was gone, tier elements came knocking right back at that door like, nah, we're back, bitch.
Absolutely. Rise Heart was a very big gatekeeper for the format. And some say that's a bad thing. I look at it as a neutral thing. Like, yeah, it gate kept certain decks out of the format, but not every deck was unplayable. It's not like it single-handedly took everything with it. Like, I mean, decks were still able to be playing, even like right before its exit from the format with a Rise Heart at 1. There were still decks like Pearly that was around. Branded was still doing their thing. Decks didn't necessarily need the graveyard. It's just beneficial, I guess, for them to keep having it. So, and speaking of which, going into the breakdown for Dortmund, like there was a whole bunch of crazy different decks that were going on. So I think for day one, out of the entirety of everyone in that room, there were 52% of I would say, meta decks or others. And then we had, going from bottom to top, we have 5% Branded was in the room. We got 6% of Labyrinth, 7% of Floowandereeze, 9% Tier Elements, 10% Pearly. And then the most represented deck in the room at Dortmund was Unchained, which was at 11%. And I love how it goes literally like 11, 10, 9, 7, 6, 5. He goes walking right on down. Is there anything that you would say that you found like weird or interesting about the breakdown in the room as far as like the percentages?
You know what? I'm not really. This is something that I think that this is like, because the format isn't solved yet. I think this is the time where people are starting to like mess around with different texts, different decks, with the the nail on the coffin in Kashtira. There's a lot. I think it does open up the door for some rogue decks that I haven't seen play to come out and actually be able to play the fucking game. But I think people, I think this chart makes sense because people that didn't sell their tier decks, now they're able to play. Flu was always going to be there. I think Flu was always going to be one of those decks that at the beginning of the format, people are just going to, I don't know what to play. I'm going to play Flu, right? Labyrinth, same thing. Trap deck, people like to rely on trap decks when they, again, same thing like Flu, you don't know what to do, play trap. And then Branded, again, is one of those decks that I don't think is ever really going to die. I think there's always going to be, it's going to be like Invoke. It's going to be like an Invoke engine. I believe it's going to be like an invoked engine for the the next couple of years, where you'll see different variations of Branded. I saw a lot of Branded Chimera this weekend, and it looks like a very fun deck. It looks like a very fun deck. It looks like it was trouble. It wasn't easy. It wasn't like a free match or anything. But yeah, I mean,
absolutely, they put up stuff. Yeah, the board is really, really strong, and they also can not only play through a lot, but they also have a lot of advantages that you wouldn't necessarily see, like hand ripping, being able to reuse Chimera Fusion multiple times in a turn, losing 2 cards in the field, and then having another one ripped from the hand, and then all the other shenanigans like the monster negates that they have by tributing, and then the Chimera monster itself. Like they got a lot to deal with. It's nothing to bat an eye at for sure.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah. I mean, so yeah, the breakdown for day one, I think it's appropriate. I think it's nothing really comes to a surprise. I wish they would have. I guess underneath 5%, it's going to be hard to really graph. But yeah, like the other 52, I'm pretty sure was your Salads, Mathemech,
the Rescue Ace, Mathemech, Manadium, all the stuff like that. A whole bunch of like just decks that weren't represented enough to get their own little slice of that pie, but that still were strong nonetheless. I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. No,
and even there's going to be flu around when Unchained is the most popular deck in the room, and the direct counter for that is a deck like Flu. So I can definitely see those. I was a little taken by the amount of representation for tier elements, but I guess I wasn't necessarily surprised. I guess just a little bit like, ooh, okay, that's interesting. Purely, I definitely imagine to be there just because it's one of the strongest decks in the format by far. Labyrinth, of course, if you don't want to play through a whole bunch of negates or disruptions, is just set a whole bunch of back row and flip them on your opponent's turn, I guess. Floodgates are really strong, especially if you go first and win the die roll. So yeah, I guess any deck playing trap cards that wins the die roll is going to have a good time. So I can agree there. And then we move over to day 2. In day 2, we had the top 64 breakdown, which came down to 36% of other. So now we're starting to slice that pie down a little bit. Now we have 5% Manadium, 8% Flunderies, 8% Branded. So they were tied right there. We have 13% Dragon Link, which I did not expect to do that well. But I mean, I can see why it would. 14% in Unchained decks. And then the most represented deck in Top Cut was Tier Elements with 16%. And that one was a little bit of an eye-opener. It's like, all right, okay, now that the deck is back, now we have to deal with it. And now to see that it's actually making top cuts and representation in these bigger events, it's like kind of a little bit scary to me. It's just like, all right, are we going back to January of 2023, earlier this year, when it was like the best deck, hands down? You know what I'm saying? Like, I really hope we don't go back to that. But what do you think?
So this breakdown is interesting, right, for day 2. Manadium, I honestly did not think I would see it. I knew that deck was gonna see play. I didn't think it was gonna make top 64. That to me came as a surprise. Dragon Link is the same. It came to me as a surprise because of how high it was represented at 13%. I think that's kind of nutty. Dragon Link is one of those decks that are just like never say die, man. It's they'll get a whole bunch of cards banned, and then Dragon Link players are like, all right, whatever, and then swap in some new dragon cards. and then it's like,
Yep.
the deck is never gonna die. So I guess there shouldn't be a surprise there. Unchained, same thing. I feel like there are some really, really talented Unchained pilots that just don't give a shit if you're playing Flu, which is like a direct counter to the deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
literally.
they just don't care, and it's just a testament to the level of player or pilot that it takes to take a deck like Unchained, and that the target is on your back, and people are playing something like directly counters it, like Flu, or playing or trying to play around it, and you're still up there like that. That's crazy. But Tier Elements, I knew that it was gonna come back. I just didn't know that it was gonna make this big of an impact.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd come back this hard.
Mm-mm. I knew,
Not off the rip.
Yeah. No, not like this hard. And yeah, man, it does seem like we are gonna go back to where we were, and you're gonna have to start using those tech sidecards and prepare for it. You're gonna have to I thought too. Yeah, I really thought like, all right, with everything it's going the way it is, you open up those 3 spaces in your side deck, right? You don't need the dimensional barrier anymore. But hell no, I think those 3 cards, you definitely need them. Unless you're running thrust, you definitely need 3 in the side.
Yeah, I agree. And as long as Striker Dragon isn't banned, Dragon Link will always be something. Like, as long as they have Striker Dragon, I think in Romulus, I think Dragon Link will always be a deck. You have to hit literally both of those cards and not into one like how Konami did. You'll have to literally ban them. Otherwise, it's just gonna be around.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't see them hitting those cards because they're always gonna print dragon cards. Dragons are very popular. Light and dark dragons are gonna be like one of the most popular cards in the game. So as long as they keep that around, they're always gonna continue printing cards, and they're gonna continue making money off of those cards. People are gonna buy them regardless of what it costs. People love the deck. Some people, unlike me, they'll play the deck to the ground and never give up on it. I'm not that person. If my deck lets me down a few times, like, all right, you're going back to the trash.
Yeah, I guess back to the deck box you go.
Yeah.
Going back to the Shadow Realm. And then we switch it over to the top 8 for the event. And this is what was really surprising for me. Now we go to the top 8. And now the breakdown is 1 Tier Elements, 1 Vanquish Soul, 1 Rika Sun Avalon, 1 Unchained, 1 Branded Chimera, I think. And then we have 3, count them, uno, dos, tres, Floowandereeze players in that top 8. Now, I was more shocked at the representation for Floowandereeze in the top 8 against the other decks in the room. Floowandereeze has a decent matchup against Rika Sun Avalon and has a more favored matchup against Unchained. But I did not see 3 of them making it past all of the Dragon Link players, the Vanadium players, which really don't even care about M-Pen too much because they can bring all their monsters in defense and still do everything they want to do. Branded, I can somewhat see having a little bit of a hard time if they have Featherstorm.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I was shocked to see that there was more Flunder represented than Tier in the top 8, that they really clawed their way up there.
Yeah, it is insane. I do agree with you there. It's kind of crazy that it's the 3 of them made it up there. One thing I will say that really, really surprised me was the top 1st and 2nd place. Rika Sun Avalon and Vanquish Soul being the top 2 decks is nuts to me. Not to say,
yeah, I agree.
Not to say anything bad. I do know, like, Joseph, again, shout out to him, plays Vanquish Soul, and so does Demetrius. And, the deck is not bad by any means, right? But it's just hard to believe that it made it past everything else.
Yeah, everything else. Yeah, it's for 2 mid-range decks to go this far and go the distance was a little bit surprising. I thought that one of the aggro decks, one of the stun decks, or even one of the meta decks would have done something like Tier Elements or something like that. But for it to go down to 2 mid-range decks, I was quite surprised. Not to say it was a bad duel or even a bad event for the finals, but it was definitely something I wouldn't have called from day one.
Neither would I. I would have called. Honestly, I would have called Flu. I did think Flu was gonna make it pretty high up, and I would have definitely called Unchained. I really thought those two decks were gonna be like at top, at the very top. And for the most part, I was right. I also wasn't, again, I knew Tier Elements was gonna be represented. Did not think they were gonna make it top 8. And they did, which was, again, just a reminder that Tier Element is a real threat coming up, and just watch out for them. They're not dead.
No, I agree, man. It's something that you guys definitely have to be weary of when preparing for bigger events this format. And speaking of this format, not only to mention that it's starting to look like a little bit of the January 2023 format, where tier was just like literally everywhere. But like, how do you think Age of Overlord will change things up? I mean, will we continue to see tier on the incline? Do you think one of the new archetypes will come in there and kind of put a stop to all this, or do you really think that we're reverting back? One would say.
So, personally, I think we are going to revert back. I don't know if the Horus cards engine, I don't know if that's going to be like enough for people to say, you know what, I'd rather pick up Horus, like a rank 8 toolbox, or whatever it is that the Horus cards are best mixed with, and say I want to do this versus playing tier, which I know for a fact has like a proven record. But then again, I don't have that, I don't have that big brain to say like there might be someone there cooking some real spice, and that I have no idea about. And I mean, I don't know, I have no idea, but I really don't think that Age of Overlord is gonna like do anything as far as knocking tier out or knocking them down.
No, I think that we have an interesting time above us between like this next week. So between now and the 20th, when Age of Overlord comes out, I think we will see the reign of tier for once more, for at least a little bit. But I do think that Age of Overlord will shake it up a bit. I mean, the Horus engine itself is really, really good. And they just got announced support in Phantom Nightmare, which is going to be, I think, pretty good. They get a field spell and another monster that actually basically does board wiping. We have the Diabell Star, which is going to boost decks that search fires. So you can search things like Kirikara, Rescue Ace, any of those decks that play the fires. If you're playing Volcanics, I fucking guess. But being able to search fires and get 7s onto the field, and then like the Snake Eyes cards all being pretty good like utility for the deck is a nice little toolbox. I think will be somewhat represented. I think that not everyone's going to want to play tier, and in order to counteract what we're going to see as far as what's previous in the format, we're going to have to see these adaptations of these new archetypes, and we're going to have to see them fast. I think that the first major event of the format is the day after that the set is legal. It should be the 21st, and it should be YCS Indy, and I'm pretty sure that will give us more of a solidified outlook for how the rest of these next few months will go. It's hard to say when you have a new core set coming out with a whole bunch of new cards. I'm talking about Sprite Little Knight, or sorry, SP Little Knight.
Yep.
I'm talking about the new anti-Zeus monster. I forget his name, but it's like so long and convoluted for no reason. There's a lot of new cards that are coming out in this set that I think will really start being introduced into almost every deck. Like I think that the SP Little Knight, and we'll go next episode, we'll go a little bit more in depth as to the cards that are coming out in Age of Overlord. We'll do a set review, and then talk about some of the new cards that are being announced, talk about some of the new cards that are announced in Phantom Nightmare, and then how the cards can be implemented into the deck currently. But until then, I think that we'll see the same format we have for the next couple weeks, and then once Age of Overlord comes out, I think all bets are off. We're going to be in a free-for-all trying to see who will dominate the format, and then once we see a nice little shape up from Indy, I think a lot more of the other minds will get to work as to, all right, what can we expect, and then what can we prepare for?
Yeah, no, I agree. And then there's another thing I think that different, like why the TCG, or maybe not the TCG, but why American players, American TCG is different from the OCG, is that we're just too spoiled, and we tend to put decks aside because we get bored of playing them. And I think that's what happened in Tier Elements even before, all the hits. I feel like people were playing it, they got bored, and then they put them to the side, started building something else. And I think that we will see a lot of tier element, but I think that tier element's going to go away on its own because people will get bored of playing the deck, and then they're going to want to play new stuff. But I don't think it'll be big. I don't think it'll be because something is power creeping it, and it's just not viable to play the deck. I just think people are going to get bored of it, to be honest.
Honestly, I think I might go in the opposite direction of that, and I think that most people who played in the January 2023 format loved it. I may not be one of them, don't get me wrong. Where the people who didn't like it are definitely a minority, the ones who did. But the ones that format was so popular. I think that whatever that YCS was, I don't remember the location of it, but it was the last YCS before Photon Hypernova was released. And I think that will be its own Time Wizard format at some point in time. I can see people going back and playing the tier mirror match at full power for one last time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see that happen. People love that deck.
Jeez, that's a hot take.
I think people love that deck that much, and it's going to take something to power creep tier elements in order to kick tier elements the fuck out this format, because so many people flock to that deck, and I get why. It's a very consistent deck. It's very broken. The milling and the the Agitos, the fact that we have all the Ishizu cards still live and they're able to mill as well as bounce back from the graveyard. There's no Arise Heart now to keep anyone in check. It's literally shifter or bust if you want to stop that deck, and even still, you're not stopping it for that long. I think it's really going to have to just be power crept out. I don't think people will get bored of it. I think that people will have to get bored of losing while playing it in order for them to switch to something else. But hey, that's just me.
I think Konami needs to do the right thing and bring Stormwinds to 2.
Yeah,
right,
barrier statue is not coming back.
Do the right thing, Konami. Do the right thing.
Yeah, that's just not coming back. but speaking of the next event, because we got YCS Indy coming up too, and it's approaching real fast. I think in only like a couple weeks. What do you think might be some of the predicted decks in attendance? And then what do you think might have a good shot at actually getting the top cut? Because we have decks like the new Horus cards, the new Diabellstar engine, decks like Sprite come back with the introduction of SP Knight. Flu's still going to be around. We got Rescue Ace that gets boosted from the Diabellstars. Like, what do you think might be around?
Yeah, so for sure, I do think Rescue Ace is definitely going to take advantage of this set. I know some people are not a fan of the deck, and I guess they can't see like how good the deck actually really is behind the right pilot, but I can see like a lot of representation for that deck. The only reason it might not is because some of the cards are just too expensive. That set wasn't opened up, I think, nearly enough. Because Hydrant at one point was like $15, and then it shot up to 30, and now it's at like 50 something, maybe like $60 a copy. And it's to play. You know what I mean? To pay that much money for a deck that might be just tier 2 even after the support is kind of like you know what I mean. You gotta really love fucking fire firefighters, fire hydrants, and fucking fire trucks and shit to really want to play that deck. But I could see it cheesing out wins, and then with the better pilots actually getting like actual legit wins. Really think tier element's going to be up there again. I don't think that deck is going to go anywhere. I think it's going to see high representation. A lot of good players are going to be playing it, and it's going to clean house like it does. What else do I think? Sprite for sure. Sprite has always been one of those decks that I feel all it needs is a busted level 2, and then you're back to the races with fucking Sprite, man. And yeah, I think Sprite is definitely going to be one of those decks. Other than that, I mean, besides Flu, I'm not convinced about the Horus stuff so much. I know that it's a good engine. I don't know, man. I'm not fully convinced. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be proven wrong, but personally, I'm not convinced with the Horus stuff. The Diabellstar, yeah, I think that's great, but Horus, I don't know, man.
I think the Horus stuff will be more of a deck itself, whereas the Diabellstar will be more of an engine kind of put into other decks. But the Horus deck by itself is pretty good. Like, I think it'll be a decent decent runner in the competition, just because of the fact that that rank 8 toolbox is so extended and it's got a lot of different utility within it. And not only can they take care of the rank 8s or whatever they need to as far as like that kind of like utility option. But the deck itself inherently draws a bunch of cards. Like they can filter to the graveyard. They send from deck to graveyard. It's got everything that you would want a deck to be able to do. And I just think it's going to take someone understanding how the deck interacts against other decks in the meta before we start seeing Horus really take off. But I do think Horus standalone is probably one of the better archetypes as a whole to come out of Age of Overlord, and I think that we'll start seeing more players flock to that more than the engine that Diabellstar might be able to supply to certain decks. There's only a handful of decks that are even going to benefit from it to begin with. But I do think Sprite will be a contender this format, especially after SP Knight comes, because that card is just literally insane.
Yeah, that card
it's like it's a good card. Yeah,
that card is like here, create your own card.
Yeah, right. It sounds like a created card. But what do you think might top, whether it be top 64, maybe top 32, hell, even maybe top 8 or finals? Do you have anything that you want? If you can call one deck that you want to see in the top cut, what would you think it would be?
Part of me wants to say Flu, but I don't want to say Flu because we don't need all that attention. You know what I mean? We don't need any attention from Konami. We don't need to be.
We're not trying to get MPEN banned.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need MPEN banned. We like to see our tops here and there. We want to get our invites. We want to be represented, but we don't need top 8. You know what I mean? Start losing if you're doing too good. If you're doing too good, start losing. We don't need that much attention on ourselves. But
yeah, just get like top 8 and call it a day.
Yeah. And then 1, not 3. There's no reason for 3 of you guys to be top 8.
You guys are over-representing the deck now.
Yeah,
now we're gonna get hit.
Yeah, you guys should
try to storm to 1.
You guys should get together and be like, hey, it's only one of us, rocks, paper, scissors, and then that's it, man.
Big facts. All right, he's going all the way.
Yeah, so I want to see Flu up there. I know Pirelli is definitely going to be out there. I think that deck is really strong, dude. I think that deck is it's almost like, to me, it's almost unfair, bro. Like once you get that big ass cat on the board, it's like, all right, have a Kaiju or have a fucking Herald, or you know what I mean, or GGs, bro.
I think that deck is strong just due to the fact that it has so many ways that it could play the deck. Like you can do something like play Stun and play a whole bunch of Floodgates and sit on like a 7 material Noir. You can do something like how the deck does now, where you could play a whole bunch of hand traps and you're drawing 2 to 4 cards on your opponent's standby phase anyway.
Yeah.
So now you have the Noir as well as hand traps and like disruptors. So there's just so many ways you can play the deck. It can OTK with the what is it? Memory with the memory line. It's crazy. Like that deck has a lot of routes it can take, and I think that is what's going to make it a good contender in this format. Like the ability to have the builds go whatever way you want.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, the last one that I would say, I think it's going to be Tier, man. I think it'll be Tier. I think Unchained is likely going to be up there, but I would put Tier Elements over Unchained right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Unchained was only popular because the new cards had just came out in that other set, and then like it was just unknown. But once the deck got figured out, and now that there are like 5 or 6 bricks that you got to play in the deck, or one I was ever to say that you don't want to like open, it's some people are naming it brick change now, where if you're just not in a position to be able to play, or you get disrupted once and you only had like one good line, then you're kind of out of a turn. Yeah, exactly. So it's GG's for you. So I can agree with those. Those are definitely some cards I think that might be up there in representation for sure. I think I might give it to. My heart says Sprite. My heart wants to say Sprite, but I think I might give it to one of the new cards out of Age of Overlord, which, in my instance or in my case, I think will be either the Horus deck as a whole or the Rescue Ace with the Diabellstar engine in it. Personally.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
And then before we close out, how about you give us a little bit of rundown at the regional you guys went to? I know you went up there with Mel and yourself. You guys went to go represent the Heart of the Podcast crew. And how did you guys feel like the event went? Did you feel like you were seeing anything that you weren't prepared for? Or was there stuff that you guys needed to work on? Or like anything that you guys wanted to recall back from that event?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I felt like the event was great. The event went, I felt like, there was literally, very little time between rounds, and just that's how quickly they were just like the matchups and stuff, and it was great. It was nice and smooth. I don't think there was any hiccups. And I think the only thing I would say is I really wasn't super prepared to see the Tier Elements, so that was kind of came to me as a surprise. Another thing is, usually I would like scrub out or sit at bottom tables, but this time around I was doing a little better, and I was hanging out towards the top tables, and I realized that some of these top table people, they like slow play, bro. And at first I was like, maybe it's just me, maybe they're just like big brain thinking, but then I'm like, I know I'm not playing the biggest brain of deck. I'm playing flute, but it's like if I'm Ryza looping Featherstorm, how much what do you really have to think about? Like, what else can you do? You know what I mean? If your deck relies on your activating monster effects, what are you gonna do? I have map on I have all this advantage on my side, and you want to prolong the game. It just kind of, you know what I mean? It just, I felt like a lot of almost all my matches went to time, and yeah, man, it just kind of sucked, bro. It's
definitely frustrating for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you have in archetype cards that gain life, like Advent. You know what I'm saying? So like it's weird when you should be able to win in time, but you still don't wind up winning in time, or time becomes a really big factor in a negative way.
Yeah, I do have a story for that too. I was playing a Cyber Dragon player. We got to game 3, and he, I think he was also under Storm, Harvey's Featherstorm. I don't remember, but he I had M-Pen out. He had, he was doing stuff in defense. When I looked over, I can see he's running down the clock, and I look over at his paper, and he has me down by 500. But I had activated Advent during my draw phase the turn before. This was, his turn 2, and he's in his main phase, just kind of like trying to set up board, and I was like, there's nothing this dude can really do to actually put any damage on me. And dude, I look over and he's looking up, and he's like, they announced time in the round, and he's like, oh man, good, GG's man, do you mind signing the paper? And then I checked off that I had won, and he was like, no man, I won. And I was like, no dude, I gained 500 from Advent during my draw phase. And he was like, no, you took 500. So then I gave him the card to read, and then he was just pissed, dude. But that's kind of like, that's the karma you get, dude.
Yeah, that's on his fault. Yeah, you gotta read cards, man.
Yeah, dude, and it's like just the karma you get. You wanna like win in time, dude. That's just kind of like, I don't know, dude. Especially with a deck
I actually hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with a deck like Cyber Dragon, where you're supposed to set up big boys and then just punch me in the face for game.
Yeah. Those decks should never be going into time. Aggro decks, if you're going into time, you're just a bad pilot. They're literally made to kill you within the first 2 turns of the game, or lose trying. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's no way 45 minutes should go by and you guys are just sitting there like, well, I guess I'm gonna make a move here. Like, no, you guys should be done within the first 15 minutes of the match. No, especially for you to be baiting out like time like that, thinking that you're ahead, only to find out that you're not ahead. But like, that's just definitely not a way I would feel like you would want to win. Like, that doesn't feel good. It's not a nice representation of like what the player base is, although it may be a true representation of it. But I don't know. I don't like when things like that happen. It's just like, play faster, learn the cards. You come into a bigger event like regionals, YCSs, you should know what the cards in the format are and what they do. Personally, I don't go to big events just trying to read cards.
I agree with you 1,000%. And I think I think Mel would have done way better than he did had he not had to explain what his cards did to players that are there. I understand, some people, first time at a regionals, maybe even first time reading the cards, right? But if you're going to go to that level of competition, I think that you should kind of do your research and know what you're getting yourself into. For example, like, I just started playing Pokemon. I'm not going to jump into regionals before
Pokemon regional, yeah,
or whatever, or equivalent before going to like a locals and trying to see like what cards do what, or doing a little bit of research on what are the meta decks, what can I expect to see, you know what I mean? And
I agree.
Yeah, man. It kind of felt bad that he went into time a couple of times, had to, caught a couple of ties because he was explaining. And I was like, man, you're a better man than me, dude. I would have.
I was just about to say, I think Mel's a little bit too nice, because I definitely would have just handed them the card, tell them to read it. And if they ask again, I'm like, well, you read the card. You should know. Yeah, like, I don't play that time shit. Like, I'll give you all the time to read in the world, but once you read all my cards, we're not playing this. Oh, what does this card do again? No, you have to know. Like, we're not playing this game.
Yeah.
But that's
No,
just me. Hey, I don't know.
I agree with you 100%. I feel like locals, you could do that. You know, it's fine. It's just locals. Who cares? But if
Yes.
you're at a regional event, you're at a YCS. You know, you're there to compete. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I'm not. You know, I'm not here to be your friend. If we do become friends after the game, cool. But honestly, like if you get pissed off that I won, then dude, it is what it is.
We're here to win.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the game is about. You know, it's at the end of the day, it is a competitive game. And again, it's just like you said, do your homework. You know what you're getting yourself into. Having at least an idea. You don't have to learn all 10,000 plus cards, right? Because that's asking too much of anybody. But if you just have an idea of what they do, then just go in. You go in prepared, and you'll do better. A million.
Or even like the
times
top 5 or 6 decks. Like, go find out what they do and then go to a regional. Like, if you lose the rogue or some tier 2 bullshit, all right, whatever. That's on you. You'll eventually learn those decks more as you develop as a player. But you should know what Sprite does. You should know what Tier Element does. You should know what Pirelli does. You should know what Branded does. Like, all these decks have been around for a while, and it's not like they're new. They've definitely been out and kicking ass, for that matter. You should know what these cards do at the very least.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. And then I guess my last takeaway on this is, I know right before we started, we talked about Rika Sun Avalon, and I said, fuck that deck. Dude, it takes so long to set up board. And then, I don't know, it just feels like very underwhelming what they set up. And then you have to play against it. And then you have to sit through it again. It's like, man, like... dude, it sucks, bro. It really, really sucks, dude.
Rika's another deck where you just know, like, all right, by the end of your turn, when they bring Pedal back, and you know they're about to get another search, you know they're about to set off the Rika Con, you know that they have a Princess in graveyard or on the field, or in hand. You know the advantage that they have and how it's looking. So by turn 2, I scoot. Like, if I know damn well I'm not about to go through one of my monsters being tributed and then taken by the sheet, one of my monster effects being negated by Princess, and then them recurring things like the Rika package going into Queen, so that way they can tribute something else. Like, I'm not playing through any of that. Like, you just got it, guy. You know what I'm saying? I'll go and go to the next match where I know I got advantage. So yeah, I agree. They do play, and their combo does take a lot. And not only does it take a lot, but they gain life points in the process.
Yes.
So they're already starting at a good advantage. Yeah.
Yep. They start off with at least like 900 extra life points.
Yeah, 86,
86, 89, something like that. And then, so they start off with advantage. Time is always on their side, dude. Time is always on their side. And yeah, it just kind of, I guess to learn those lines, I guess it does take a big brain, but I don't know, man. Not for me, dude. I fucking hate playing tier. Rika. I thought like I would hate playing the mirror match, but I think I hate playing Rika Sun Avalon more than the Flu Mirror.
And that's saying something, because that bird mirror is not fun
at all. It's like kissing your cousin.
Yeah, definitely not a good time unless you're into that kind of thing, you know. But we're starting to run out of life points here, guys. I want to thank our guest one more time, George, for being on here. Before we get into his shout outs, just a quick reminder, as I say all the time, Linktree, description box below, click it, follow all of our sites, giveaways soon, you guys know that deal. Shout outs to Unplugged Gaming and Manliest. Go join their Discord server, also in description box down below. Catch my man Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming every Saturday night on Twitch at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Make sure to check your time zone with where you live as to find out when we will be streaming. And his Linktree, or his Twitch stream, will also be in the link tree down below. We will be announced our new schedule for dropping content as for you guys. We'll be dropping podcasts again on Tuesdays and Fridays. We have our live streams with Brad on Saturdays, as well as the short form content coming on all of the TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, all that stuff will be on Wednesdays and Sundays. We'll probably try to do it midday on days like that, but more than likely will be more towards the evening. But we will be dropping all of those on those days. We're now sticking to a strict schedule for you guys. We just want to make sure that's clear to you guys. And the last announcement will be the Age of Overlord case tournament that Semi-Limited will be hosting at our sponsor location of Unplugged Gaming in Manlius, New York on Saturday, October 21st. Right after the case tournament, we'll be going right back to Brad's stream. I'll be jumping in there talking about how the event went. And just so you know that the case of the newest set, Age of Overlord, obviously will be up for split amongst the top cut. And it'll be $25 to enter. And you will be given, we're giving away a whole shit ton of OTS packs too. Whether it's you're entering, whether it's top cut, for side prizing and all that stuff. I got another mat that we can do for the win a mat portion for those who come out this way and don't make it to the top cut and still want to play. So we'll have a whole bunch of stuff going on there. I'll be taking shorts and reels, a bunch of footage for the content for the pages and all that stuff. So this is one of the events that you do not want to miss. It will be the first New York State event where Age of Overlord is legal, and it's probably the first time you can get a case in the winnings as close to the release date as you can. And then once again, thanks to our guest George. Do you have any shout outs or anything like that you want to plug in one more time before we leave?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Give us a listen. Heart of the Podcast. You can find us just about anywhere you find podcasts.
There will also be linked in the description box below. I'll be sure to go there and link that in there too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'll talk to the boys, see if the King of the Qs makes an appearance at
oh my god, gaming. Yeah, if you guys want to make the shot or the trip up here, you guys already know you got a place to stay up here. You know, much love up here. We would love to have you come out here and participate in it and have some fun with all of us. Maybe we can have you guys in there hosting with us as well. You know, you never know.
Oh hell yeah, that'd be a fucking good time.
But with all that being said, guys, we are officially all out of light points. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening, and be sure to go follow all of the social sites down below. And that being said, I am Player X, and we have been the Semi-Limited Podcast. Thank you and good night.